The most powerful person in any room almost never does the most work. They appear at the top because they mastered one simple rule long ago. Heavy lifting is for those who still believe effort equals reward. Effort and reward almost never touch each other. The ones who claim the glory learned something early that most people refuse to see. Recognition does not belong to the person who works the hardest. It belongs to the person who controls the story after the work is finished. Look closely at any successful project inside any company. Someone logged 80 hours. Someone else answered 3 emails and attended 2 meetings. When the presentation ended, who stood at the front? The one who spoke about vision and direction. The one who used words like, "I guided the team," and "based on the strategy I developed." The person who actually built the thing sat in the 3rd row, exhausted, watching their work get handed to someone else's reputation. That pattern never happens by accident. It happens because one person mastered the art of absence during the grind and perfect visibility during the reward. Stay until the end, because the final revelation shows the exact skill that makes this entire system impossible to stop once you see it operating in your own life. They start by scanning every new environment with one question in mind. Who here needs approval more than they fear exhaustion? That combination is the exact profile they hunt. They spot the co-worker who volunteers first for every extra assignment, the one whose voice rises slightly when thanked. That person becomes the engine. The manipulator never issues a direct order. They simply hand over one small task with a quiet line. "You're the only one who can get this right." The target walks away feeling chosen. The manipulator walks away free. That first move feels harmless. One task, one compliment. But watch what happens when the target returns. With the work completed perfectly, the manipulator offers another piece of praise, slightly warmer this time. "You really understand this better than anyone." The target glows. They take on another task without being asked. Then another. Soon, the 12-hour days begin. The manipulator arrives late, leaves early, takes long lunches, and checks emails from common areas where others can see them looking busy, but they never touch the actual work. The target has already decided that the praise depends on performance, so they keep performing. The real shift happens when doubt creeps into the target's mind. Somewhere around week 3, exhaustion starts whispering. The target thinks, "Am I doing all of this alone?" The manipulator feels that shift coming before the target does. They strike at the exact moment uncertainty appears. They say something like, "Without you, this entire thing falls apart," or "You're the only reason this project still has momentum." The target hears those words and immediately interprets the exhaustion as a sign of importance. They push harder. They work weekends. They stop sleeping full nights. The manipulator notices all of this and feels nothing except confirmation that the system works. Now, the target becomes personally invested, not in the work itself, in the identity the manipulator built for them. The target starts believing they are the irreplaceable one. They take pride in carrying what others cannot. But pride without position is just fuel for someone else's fire. The manipulator watches this investment grow and then begins the next phase. They plant ideas, so the work feels like the target's own creation. They walk past the target's desk and casually mention a problem that needs solving. Nothing more, just a comment dropped like a coin into a machine. The target grabs that coin and runs. They build solutions. They draft plans. They create entire systems from scratch. And all of it happens inside their own head, as their own idea. When the team gathers to review progress, the manipulator speaks first. They say, "I identified this gap last month and asked our team to explore solutions." The target hears that and feels confused for a second. Was it really the manipulator's idea? The target remembers the hallway comment, but they also remember staying up until 2 in the morning, building the solution. The room does not care about the hallway. The room hears the manipulator claiming strategic ownership. The target stays silent, because arguing would mean admitting they did not see the manipulation coming. So the silence protects the manipulator and buries the truth. This silence becomes the foundation of everything that follows. The manipulator starts using team language in a way that sounds generous, but erases individual contribution. They announce, "We crushed this together." But when the summary report circulates, their name appears first. When the bonus gets distributed, they receive the larger share. When the promotion opens, they sit in the interview. The target hears "we" and feels included enough to stay quiet. But the quiet is exactly what the manipulator needs. Every moment of silence is another brick in the wall that keeps the target invisible. Questions occasionally arise. Someone in a meeting might ask, "Who actually built the prototype?" The manipulator does not flinch. They redirect immediately. Success came from strong leadership and clear vision. The team executed exactly as directed. The question disappears. The room nods because the answer sounded confident. If the target ever pushes back, the manipulator has a second layer ready. They smile softly and say, "I trusted you with that piece. I'm sorry if you felt unsupported." Now, the target looks difficult. The target looks emotional. The target looks like someone who cannot handle responsibility without needing credit. The target learns quickly that pushing back only damages their own standing. So they stop pushing. The manipulator never relies on one person. They assign research to one, execution to another, presentation, polishing to a third. Each target believes they are the key piece, because the manipulator tells each one in private, "You are the only one I trust with this part." When the finished product shines, the manipulator stands alone at the front and thanks the team in one breath, then accepts every award in the next. The 3 targets look at each other afterward, each wondering if the others really contributed. That confusion is the lock. The manipulator holds the only key. The same mechanism operates outside offices. Watch a group planning a weekend trip. One person suggests the idea. Another person spends weeks booking flights, researching hotels, coordinating schedules. When the trip ends and everyone says that was perfect, the person who suggested the idea smiles and says, "I knew this group needed to get away." The friend who did every task sits quietly because the praise already feels aimed at the wrong person. But correcting it would look petty, so they swallow it. And the manipulator adds another victory to a long list of victories built on other people's work. Creative spaces reveal the pattern even more clearly. A director suggests a concept. The writers and artists spend months building it. When the final piece launches, the director speaks about the vision as if every line and brushstroke came from their own hands. The real creators see their names in small print, at the bottom of a credit roll that nobody watches. If any creator complains, the director says, "You executed my vision beautifully." The word "my" cuts through everything. The creator feels reduced to a pair of hands, because that is exactly what they became. In family settings, the manipulator suggests hosting the holiday gathering. Then they step back completely. The eager relative takes over, planning the menu, buying the gifts, decorating the house. When the day arrives and everyone praises how perfect it felt, the manipulator smiles and says, "I'm just glad I brought the family together." The relative who spent weeks stressed and broke sits quietly because arguing would ruin the mood. The pattern repeats at every reunion. In romantic relationships, the same system runs silently. One partner casually mentions wanting a special date night. The other partner plans the entire evening, reservations, outfit ideas, perfect playlist. When the night ends and compliments flow, the partner who suggested it leans back and says, "This turned out exactly how I pictured it." The planner hears the praise, but notices it lands on the idea, not the execution. They stay quiet because pointing it out would seem insecure. The manipulator collects the affection without lifting a finger. Academic group projects follow the exact blueprint. The manipulator drops a vague comment about a strong thesis angle during the first meeting. The ambitious student runs with it, researches, writes drafts, revises the entire presentation. When the group presents, the manipulator stands at the front and says, "As I outlined from the beginning." The student sits silent because the room already believes the story. The grade and the professor's praise go to the one who spoke first. Online communities and gaming teams show the pattern in pure form. The manipulator posts a casual suggestion for a big guild event or server project. The dedicated player organizes everything, schedules raids, recruits members. When the event succeeds and the community cheers, the manipulator types, "Great job, everyone. My idea really came together." The player who carried the load watches the praise flow upward and says nothing because complaining gets you labeled as toxic. The manipulator masters the art of absence during the hardest periods. They schedule important calls or meetings during the heaviest work phases. Nobody expects them to contribute hands-on because their calendar looks full. When the results arrive, they reappear refreshed, well-rested, and ready to present. The contrast between their fresh appearance and the target's exhausted face makes the manipulator look even more in control. The room sees someone who manages calmly from above. They do not see the person who bled for the results. When a project fails, watch where the manipulator stands. They are never at the center of the collapse. They position themselves one step removed from every moving part. If something breaks, they point to the person who handled that section and say, "I trusted them with that area." The target absorbs the quiet blame. The manipulator's reputation stays intact. The target works even harder on the next project to avoid another failure. The manipulator watches this cycle and knows that each failure only deepens the target's commitment. That is the cruelest geometry of the pattern. Punishment makes the victim try harder. Trying harder produces more work. More work produces more glory for the manipulator. Over years, this builds a dependency that the target cannot escape. The manipulator starts assigning larger and larger pieces of every project. The target becomes the go-to person for all heavy tasks because they have proven reliable. But reliability without ownership is just free labor. The manipulator rewards reliability with more private praise, and the cycle deepens. Soon the target handles entire departments' worth of effort, while the manipulator attends meetings and collects praise. The target tells themselves, "At least they notice my work," But notice is not reward. Recognition without compensation is just manipulation with a friendly face. The manipulator uses competition between targets to speed up production. They tell one person that another person is already ahead on a similar task. Both race to finish faster and better. The manipulator collects both outputs, chooses the stronger one, and claims it as their own direction. The loser works even harder next time to regain favor. The winner works even harder to stay ahead. Neither realizes they are running on a track that loops back to the same starting line every time. The manipulator never runs. They just change the finish line whenever it becomes convenient. The ultimate system works because it exploits the quiet fear most people carry that their effort will go completely unnoticed. The manipulator offers the illusion of being seen. That illusion costs them absolutely nothing and delivers endless labor. The targets trade their time, their talent, their sleep, and their peace of mind for scraps of approval. The manipulator trades nothing for full credit. Every compliment is free. Every "only you can do this" costs $0 and zero effort. But to the target, those words feel like payment. That is the exchange gap. That gap is where the manipulator builds their entire life. Watch someone who operates this way across different jobs and relationships. Their methods never change because the methods never fail. Every new environment contains the same eager targets waiting to prove themselves. The manipulator simply identifies them faster each time. They have learned what the rest of the world refuses to see. The supply of people willing to carry heavy loads for the promise of recognition is infinite. The deeper pattern reveals itself when you ask who actually built the things the manipulator gets credit for. Nobody asks that question in the moment. After the moment passes, nobody cares. The glory attaches to the name that spoke loudest when the lights were on. The person in the shadows holds no receipts. They hold exhaustion and a folder full of emails that nobody will ever read. The manipulator understands this perfectly. Glory is not created by work. Glory is created by the story told after the work is finished. Whoever tells the story owns the glory. They make sure they are always the one telling it. But underneath all of this, beneath the targeting, the praise locks, the credit grabs, and the narrative control, there is a single psychological wound that makes the entire system possible in the first place. And it is not where most people look. Every person who gets pulled into this pattern carries a quiet, specific fear that has nothing to do with the work itself. Not a fear of failure, not a fear of exhaustion, a fear that their effort will go completely unnoticed, that they will give everything they have and no one will register it. The manipulator does not create that fear. The target arrived with it, already fully formed. The manipulator simply identifies the door and walks through it without hesitation. The offer they make is always the same, and it never costs them anything to deliver. "I see you," spoken or implied. That sentence is worth more to the target than a raise or a title. And once a person believes they are finally being seen by someone who holds influence, they will work themselves into a state of real damage to keep that feeling intact. This is exactly why the system does not collapse under confrontation. A target who tries to reclaim their credit is not fighting someone who stole from them. They are fighting someone who gave them something. The feeling of being valued and visible. That feeling has become attached to a specific person. Separating from that person means losing the feeling. And most people, when faced with that trade, choose the feeling. They stay. They adjust their expectations downward, They accept smaller acknowledgements and tell themselves it is enough. They wonder privately and often why the recognition never catches up to the effort. It never will, because recognition was not what this system offered. The feeling of being seen was the product, and feelings can be manufactured at zero cost. Results cannot. The final secret sits in plain sight. This pattern does not require special talent. It does not require a high position or a prestigious title. It requires only the willingness to let others break themselves while you stand back and smile. That willingness is rare because most people feel guilt when others suffer for their benefit. The manipulator feels no guilt. They feel efficiency. Once you understand that difference, you start seeing the pattern everywhere. In meetings where one person talks and another person built everything. In group projects where the same name appears on every award. In friendships where one person always plans and the other always accepts the thanks. In families where one voice suggests and another carries. In relationships where one dreams and another executes. The ones who carry the load never stop carrying it because they believe the next project will be different. The manipulator knows it will not be different. They will still be in the front, the carrier will still be in the third row. The story will still belong to whoever told it first. And the only thing that changes is the date on the calendar and the name of the next target, who has not yet learned what the heavy lifters always learn too late. Effort is invisible. Glory is a performance, and the performance always wins.